Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another Network and Chill. We'll give everyone some time to join and tap in. We will have a great conversation today, really talking about a founder's introduction to search engine optimization. As people join, I just want to give up a few great shout outs and give you some information about some upcoming events as well. Uh, First, huge shout out to Demetrius Gray and the whole entire captain team. They had a
Yeah, shout out
amazing,
Captain.
yeah, amazing launch party last night at 1020 Brewery. Great celebration for the ecosystem. For those who don't know, Demetrius' company recently raised 104 million, and so they had a quick launch party. Highlighted some new products that they released yesterday as well, and got to reconnect with a ton of folks, bro. It's been a while since we've been able to have some in-person events. Great guest list yesterday. It was great to build some community and reconnect with a lot of folks yesterday. It was super fun, man.
Yeah,
Had a lot
man.
of
I wish
folks
I
looking
would
for
have
you
gotten
too,
to
Ricky.
attend. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
had a lot of folks looking for you too. So
Yeah, man. I'm mad I missed it.
I know. But I told them you'd be around today. So, second of all, like huge shout out to our sponsors, Amplify, so for sponsoring Network and Chill and just showing a lot of love. They are having an open house party tonight at at the Nulu Marketplace, Wessex Brewery from 4 to 7 tonight. Huge opportunity, DJ, open bar from 4 to 5. Drinks, way to collaborate with some folks here in the ecosystem. So tap in tonight, join tonight if you can. Hopefully, I can swing by for a minute. Hopefully, Ricky will be there as well. We'll love to reconnect with you all if you can make it tonight as well.
Yeah, man. I'll definitely be there tonight. So, yeah, drop by.
Come through. And then, as for those who don't know, so I just want to say Network and Chill is a program for to connect. We started Network and Chill to connect founders, funders, and anyone in the entrepreneurial ecosystem through storytelling, education, and making it truly inclusive. I'm Chris Ray, your co-host, and Ricky Mason is my co-host as well. We are really in a hybrid model, so we have a lot of virtual programming, but also we love to have some in-person connections and programming as well. So next week is an in-person programming, really collaborating with U of L and Score Three over there, and we're really tapping into a conversation around sports, the intersection of sports and entrepreneurship. We have a great panelists, 4 panelists join us as well. Entrepreneurs building in the space and really interested. So it's a huge opportunity to join. That will be on campus at U of L. We'll try to get the event bright link into the comments for you all to join and tap into. Really excited for that as well.
Yeah, man. It's going to be a lit event.
It is, and then stay tuned. We have some things coming out in May as well. Things are really rolling. We're Rick and I have been super busy, so 3 or 4 events a month. I don't think we're slowing down from that. We have some other conversations coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. Some conversations with Endeavor from Ratio Smalls and some other founders as well that will start releasing out as well. So stay tuned. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. A lot of the content will be there. We also super active on LinkedIn and Instagram as well.
Yep.
With that, Ricky, I'll pass it to you and kind of highlight our guest today and bring them on.
All right. Yeah, man. I'm excited today. We're bringing Garrett French, who is the founder of Citation Labs and an SEO specialist agency with more than 150 employees focused on serving enterprise clients. He's a 20-year vet of the SEO industry and a Louisville resident with 1 wife, 3 kids, 4 cats, and 10 plus investments in Kentucky startups. Without further ado, I'll bring up Garrett.
Hey guys.
What's up, man?
Garrett, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Doing fantastic. Some people don't like the dreary days like we got today. I love them, man. I love them. I get out and run in this. This is what I love right here.
There you go. It's a perfect day then.
I think so.
Overdue to have you on today, and we're super excited for you to share like an introduction on SEO. But also, I just want to commend you. We met a few years ago now. It's like you said, COVID years. It seems like 20 years ago. But you really, when I met you, you really inspired me with your local support of entrepreneurship and founders here in the ecosystem. You are under the ground, but you are doing great work here. From not only investing to Kentucky startups, but supporting Startup Week and other things of that nature. They're supporting like entrepreneurs in this region, and that's super impactful. And so I just want to give you a public shout out for the work that you're doing.
Thanks, man. Nobody invited me to those parties you're talking about. I wouldn't have gone. I'm my social anxiety is just, nah, I'll just stay home. But I would like the honor of declining them though, but we'll get, we'll figure that out on the
we'll figure that out. I'll get you on some guest list.
I at least want to say no to stuff, come on, man. No, I'm messing. I'm excited. I am a Louisville native. I moved away for a decade, came back, brought my wife back here, my 3 boys, and this is my home. I love Louisville. Trying to see beyond just Louisville, so that's not easy for me, but I've been doing, over the last several months, and I've been trying to make a more concerted effort to reach out to, Eastern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, Northern Kentucky, and even a little bit into Indiana. They're trying to make me, but I'm doing it though anyways, No, it's about the region, and for me, and what I get excited about, honestly, is, and I don't even know if they'll care, but my kids, my 3 boys, I want them to have an interesting place to work. I want them to be excited about what's going on in the business space in Louisville, specifically in the region. Okay. I'm trying not to be a Louisvilleist, but just in the region. Anyhow, that's what I'm here for. And then hopefully, some founders out there will get some insights into SEO and be able to apply them. I'm not necessarily out here trying to get clients. We're enterprise. So, usually typically, campaigns started in the 25,000 a month range. And that's not even going to, that's assuming all your other SEO ducks are in a row, but I'll get into all that. But I'm just saying, I'm here for, advancing founders' knowledge. You can send me an email anytime if you got SEO questions, and more than happy to talk that stuff through. Really enjoy it. Just trying to be an asset to Louisville and to my region, to entrepreneurship and business growth.
And I can attest to that. I met Garrett during the 2020 Vote Award cohort, 5 weeks of classes. And after he came through and did his talk with us as a cohort, I immediately scheduled a call with him, right after. And we followed up and had, I think, about a 2-hour conversation just about our SEO strategy and everything that we were doing with Brainstem. And man, it was an awesome conversation. And Garrett has really just been a great support to the community as a whole, as far as, founders and the entrepreneurship community.
I really enjoyed that conversation, Ricky. I hope we can have another one soon, bud.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So Garrett, we'll pass it to you and spend the next 30 to 40 minutes going over our overview. And then maybe at the end, we'll open up for any Q&A. We'll keep tabs on the comments and then we'll kind of spring them up at the end and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Good.
All right, folks. So I'm here today to talk to you about, kind of introduce to you SEO, search engine optimization, as a channel. So the concept of channels is one that I'm pulling the conversation all the way back to and pulling all the way back out because I think from a marketing perspective, we talk about marketing all the time, but really the tactics and strategies are very channel dependent. You wouldn't put the same thing necessarily, you wouldn't put the same kind of thought or effort into SEO as you would into a television ad, just different approaches. And so the channel itself is very, very important when we think about marketing, period. So I really wanted to first and foremost, locate SEO in my view of marketing. And also for the record, I didn't go to school for marketing. So I'm probably not using language that you may have heard if you've gone into any marketing classes, and I apologize for that. I'm just self-taught in this area. So from a channel perspective, the way I look at it is we've got digital and we've got in person. And so the digital, and there's all kinds of crossover, but just kind of broadly speaking, we could be digital or we can be in person. And of course, in person, I'm talking about stuff like TV, print, radio, billboards, even webinars or rather seminars or, events and such. So I'm specifically today talking about more on the digital marketing side. And this is, again, I'm trying to position search engine optimization. And I have to do this every time I'm talking to family as well, because what do you actually do, Garrett? Well, there's digital, the digital channels, and within these, I kind of think of them in terms of, we've got cold outreach. So this is how you're going to get in touch with somebody, is you've done your research, you found out, hey, this Garrett guy might be a good person to see if he wants to invest in my new startup. So I'm going to send him a cold email. He also might reach me through social media. Now, that's more the cold outreach side. There's other ways to, kind of, I guess, cold outreach people, but in digital. But this is kind of a big one, and it's usually overlooked. I would say it's usually overlooked. There's a lot of how we're getting business now, enterprise clients, is through social media, cold outreach, and it can work. It's a solid approach. It's not what we're talking about today, but I've seen it work personally. Then we got interruption. So this is where, in the middle of this webinar, let's say, if you're watching it on YouTube and you're not don't have the $10 a month thing, you're going to get an ad in the middle of it. And you're going to be like, man, this Garrett was about to say something incredible, and now I got to wait until this ad is over. And I saw my boys, we were just in Florida. So we had the YouTube account that wasn't ours, and so they kept getting interrupted. But they figured out how to skip the ads real fast. And I mean, that's the thing with interruption. Nothing against them, and they're effective and they can work, but we've got stuff like social media ads, advertising on a website, video ads, even search ads are a little less of an interruption. We'll get into that, but I'm talking about paid search, PPC, it's often referred to as. And then, I threw podcasts on there. Anything where an audience is gathering and you're going to briefly interrupt for a message from our sponsors, you're the sponsor, interrupted. Now, the other thing, this has been interesting, and I think a lot of us get this now, more or less folks are digital natives. When I was coming up, though, this was a really new concept, 20 years ago. The content side of marketing, content marketing, it's commonly referred to. Inbound marketing, it can be called sometimes, but this is, kind of broadly all lumped together. This is where organic search mostly lives, right? Social media lives here as well. So not just like a tweet about something clever or the weather, but a tweet about, some opinion you have that helps establish your credibility. Video content, newsletter content. So again, we have email. I already broke what I was going to say. I was going to just talk about the channels, but I've kind of lumped the channels. I've just realized, I'm sorry, this is my first time giving this presentation. So anyhow, just ignore my confusion. But email is, you can send email newsletters, and then newsletter is less, if it has helpful, interesting, useful content, isn't as much of an interruption, right? Certainly not like the way cold outreach is, certainly not the way, ads can be, but we're talking about content here. And so newsletters, webinars, presentations like this one, this would be, if I sold into startups, this would be a phenomenal place for me to be speaking, right? It would make a lot of sense because I'd be trying to, establish my credibility, establish why you'd want to reach out to me and connect with me for business potential services. It would make a ton of sense. I'm here for, who knows, maybe KFC's watching. They'll want to talk SEO. So we kind of briefly touched on in person, and we covered digital. Do I really know what I'm talking about when I say channels? Probably not, and I probably conflate a lot of these things. But certainly, these are all this is marketing here. as Garrett sees it, and as I slowly refine live, thank you for bearing with me. But we have digital, and within digital, we have the content side, which is you're writing articles, you're creating videos, you're writing web pages, solid web pages, right? Not just an article on how to, but a really effective communication around what you offer, your actual what's for sale, what you're selling. And then this content specifically on your website, right? That's the only place, or the primary place, that organic search deals with is content on your website. Well, that's where kind of SEO starts. So now I'm going to dig into this a little bit. Actual SEO. So here's the actual presentation starting now. This is getting into search engine optimization and kind of overview of what it is, how it is as a channel as far as I see it. And again, I've been in this space for 20 plus years, but still not really a marketer per se, just haven't spent time like actually learning terms, et cetera. Let's not dwell on that though. So search engine optimization. We have on-site ranking factors. On-site ranking factors. Let's break this open. On-site, we mean your website. This is completely, entirely within your governance. Everything that you can log into your WordPress or whatever content management system you're using, and you can affect it, okay? On-site. It's a ranking factor because Google uses it to rank your website. These information from these sort of chunks of category that I wrote along this way, all right? So on-site ranking factors, there's more. This is not what I'm, within SEO, this is not what I'm good at. And this is what I've hired some great team members who are good at this. And then we often rely, and this is, for us, how we determine if a client or a prospect is going to be a potentially good client, is they've got an in-house SEO person. Like they've got a dedicated technical SEO person on staff, or team is even better. And that's going to be a sign that they're investing in a meaningful way in organic search, which will mean they're going to have some budget for the link side of things, but we'll get to that in a second. So on-site ranking factors, these are the sort of categories of information or chunks or locations of information that Google uses to understand what your website is about. So this is very plainly how you're positioning what you're about to Google so they know what to serve up if somebody searches, right? So some of the areas can include, and again, unfortunately for you, I'm not an expert on this portion. I can tell you, we could have an SEO conversation, and I can tell you what you need to do and who, the types of folks you might need to talk with. But this isn't necessarily what I would consider my backyard. Now, again, been in this space for 20 years, so I could have a coherent conversation about it. But it isn't my place of expertise. Things like site structure, how you've actually structured the entirety of your website, which isn't given a lot of thought. It has a lot more impact, certainly at what we call enterprise level, where we've got hundreds of thousands, or in some cases millions of web pages, right, that are kind of duking it out in some cases against each other. So once you scale anything, there's a kabillion more issues that may arise. And so it's almost always at enterprise that this really starts to get real thorny. But we got stuff like site structure, the usability and the user interface can have an impact. Not always on ranking factors per se, but certainly it's related, because the manner in which you're presenting information to your user and giving them clear guidance around what they're supposed to do on the page is going to also send clear information to Google from an algorithmic perspective to get a sense of, when does this page make sense to show? When is this page going to potentially satisfy the search intent of the searcher? Get into that more later. Stuff like, this is more classically what people think of with SEO is keyword research. What terms are people searching for that are, exactly what I sell or related to what I sell, and how much search volume is there estimated on a monthly basis. And this is a lot of kind of the, when SEOs start, this is a lot of what they're doing. Intro to SEO is you're doing the keyword research, you're putting together a sense of how competitive a keyword is. And I'm still talking about just the organic side. This does make sense on paid search as well. And I probably should differentiate. Dang it, that would have been a good thing to differentiate previously. We'll differentiate later. But paid search is basically you're paying money to be there. The algorithmic organic side is you rank there by nature of the algorithm deciding that you're the right page to rank there. And so there are algorithms on both sides, but it's differentiated because you're not paying for the visibility in the search result. Anyhow, so keyword utilization, are you using the right keywords on the page? Are you balancing, what the users expect to see with what, what you want to align with from a traffic perspective? Keywords with more search volume, you'll be tempted to try to rank for. All this will be kind of represented on various tags on your page. And again, this is where, anybody that's been in SEO for a year would be able to school me. But, like the title tags, H1 tags, H2 tags, what do they do, Garrett? Don't know. You ask your SEO or ask your webmaster. I have a sense, I really do. But these are but this is where, kind of the tags are what Google's using to kind of get a sense of what is the summary of this page. What's the gist of this page? What is the most important information on this page? How do we discern, prioritization that the author clearly has on the page? And then things like site speed become enormously impactful, especially at enterprise where there's, you're competing for a term like, let's say, hotels in Florida, and there's going to be a lot of competition for that, a lot of organic competition. So at that level, things like site speed start to become more impactful in terms of who Google's going to select to go on top there. So that's the nutshell. On-site ranking factors. I'm positive I left stuff out. I promise you I did. This is what, if you're just starting your foray, you can get a sense of this in, 90 minutes easily. Watch a few videos, read a little bit. This isn't crazy, right? Just getting the sense of what is the expanse or the variety of kind of ranking factors. You could search for, Google ranking factors, and you're going to get and there's tons of arguing about it. There's no real school either of SEO right now, and there never really has been. It's beginning to be taught in colleges, I think, but it really is a fascinating space, and I'll try not to dwell there too long. So we've talked through what are known as on-site ranking factors or on-site factors that Google, it's a machine, it's an algorithm, it's trying to understand what your website is about, but it has another place where it goes to learn about your website and what it's about, and that is other websites and what they say you're about, or more particularly what they say your pages are about. So this is where Citation Labs comes in. We build links to pages that our clients want to have ranking higher. We build links, their rankings go up for the keywords that they want to be ranking for. And so this is, again, I mentioned we have a pretty high starting cost, and this really only starts to make sense once you know for sure that there's enough scale, there's enough search demand to warrant spending enormous amounts of money on a monthly basis to pursue traffic that is, it's not going to last forever, but it is ostensibly free because the algorithm shifts all the time, right? Anyway, links essentially serve as an algorithmic proxy, right? This is what Google uses to discern your page and website kind of expertise and authority, which is then going to give Google a sense of where do I need to rank this page against all the competing pages or all the Google doesn't see them as competitors, right? They're really you see these pages as your competitors. So I want to rank for home loans and the 1 through 9. Well, first of all, there's a huge chunk of ads now, and so this is a constant kind of concern for within the SEO space, and this is a big one over the last 20 years that we've seen shift. Is there used to just be ads at the top, and then now Google's like, did you mean to ask? People also ask, and then here's the history, here's a Wikipedia page, and they're just trying to keep people within the Google ecosystem, and this is going to continue. And they're eating various lunches that they find. It's just the way Amazon does. They find a product that sells really well, and they say, okay, how do we do this and make more money than just selling the paid search ads? So what Google does a lot, and we've seen this happen for some of our clients, is, for example, let's say you're in the home services lead gen space. Well, if you are a marketplace, you are now, Google is kind of stepping in to say, hey, wait a minute, we could be the marketplace. We don't necessarily need to rank the marketplaces. So let's just show an array of all our ads in a productive way that feels like a marketplace with ratings and ranking, or, with reviews and that sort of thing. And we could make more money. So, the organic portion of the search results are definitely shrinking, especially in large consumer, big consumer marketplace comparison spaces. Does it trouble me? I think I'll hopefully be retired by the time it becomes a major issue for future SEOs. So hopefully, not, but it could. Who knows?
Hey,
yeah.
We got a few questions. I want to just pause you real quick. See if we can jump into those. So one, I'll pop it up on the screen if you can see.
So site speed is how quickly does your page load in someone else's browser, all right? And so Google has I think, I'm making this up just so you, I've gave it as caveat, and I'm going to say it, I'll try not to say it any more times. I know enough to be dangerous, so you're going to want to go research this yourself. But site speed, as I understand it, is how quickly does your server give your page information to the browser, okay? Now, there's a lot of stuff that can slow this down. You got, I think the term is JavaScript. And this is, I'm not technical, but there are things that you can do that really slow your website down, that maybe look beautiful, but that slow your website down and may impact or will certainly impact your rankings. So that, is way above my pay grade. That's the technical side of things. And I would, if this were a sales call, I'd say, James, answer that. And that's my technical lead. He would help me with answering that. So I'll just say, I can get back to you on that.
No, that's good information,
to get
Garrett.
more.
But that's not related. But I want to clarify too, though. But that's not really related to keywords at all. Would that be related to keywords, or that's
no, not directly.
How the website's built,
they would be measured. Google would be measuring those things separately and be, kind of having those in different buckets.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a good clarifying factor. So I think
that's site speed. Look, it's really it's enterprise, like where, and what do I mean by enterprise? You're getting, 300, 400,000 plus organic visits monthly, and you can, there's cases where people will make site speed changes and that will double or 50% growth. There are crazy, it's at larger scales, there's crazy improvements that can be had by granular micro changes in all of these types of things. But if you're in a space and there really isn't that much search demand out there for what you do, or not that much that you really genuinely should be ranking for, your best bet is going to be paid search, and you're not going to have a lot of impact on page speed adjustments, tweaks and adjustments to your site speed. I don't think. I mean, there could be, like, I am not a small biz SEO expert, and I could be. Would be gratefully contradicted if someone knows otherwise. But from where I stand, if it's a quick and easy fix, then do it and see what happens. But I wouldn't make a site speed change and expect, enormous return, especially not for a smaller website. But certainly if you're, in a large space, or you've had a website that's been around a long time, or it just hasn't been updated in a long time, and you normally get 100,000 visits a month, and it's dropped to 75 or 50, or you've had some significant drops over the past few months. That's one of the places you could start digging, like, what could be going on here? Maybe site speed. So that would be one of the stones to turn over.
Great to hear, Garrett. And another question we had right here is, someone said that they heard that, like, websites are becoming less vital to business searches, and that socials are becoming the more preferred locations for that kind of information. Do you have any thoughts on that particular question? And Ricky can pop it up as well.
It depends on the business. It depends on where are your customers. I've seen that trend in smaller, like, retail. I've seen it in restaurants, especially, not having websites and just being on social. But the issue then also becomes, you don't own your identity. It's owned by the platform, the social media platform. Not everybody remembers MySpace. That was all I had to flirt on when I was coming up, and so, like, that's what I knew, right? But it's long gone, and thank goodness. But it's long gone, and just you own your website, and it doesn't always make sense to invest in a website. It just doesn't. And I'm not going to tell everybody to do it, but if you're if you're a startup, I can't envision investing in a startup that didn't plan to have a website. Why? What difference does it make? I guess I could be convinced otherwise. Probably I'd have to dig in and really get what their intention was behind that. But the thing about a website is, it really does, to me, and I'm, I don't like the word old school, because it has the word old in it and school, and I don't like it. Don't like either of those. I'm just kidding, Ricky. I like your school, man.
University.
But that said, like, I want you to have a website, or I kind of don't think you're serious or that serious. Now, does every consumer think that way? No. I'm 45, man. Like, in web terms, I'm pushing 100. So I'm definitely an old man in that regard. And so it's going to depend on your target customer. If you're, and I didn't even write TikTok on here. I don't even know what it is. It's just a bunch of little videos. I've never looked at it. I don't want to look at it. But if all your audience is on TikTok, and, like, that's who your target customer base is, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you got to have a website. I don't freaking know. I know, I know about my customers, my enterprise customers. I know about how I think about, B2B sales, which is what I primarily do. And, having a website is it's table stakes, essentially. Not necessary, and for all businesses at all, though, but you'll still be found in organic search without a website.
Okay.
You will.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have it, but you have more control over your identity and your brand when you have your own website. It's an added cost. If you're a small business, I would probably be relatively hesitant, because if it's just you, I mean, should you be spending that extra time on a website or putting business cards in the right mailboxes? it's tough. You know, it depends on what stage of your business you're at and all that. But there definitely is more and more businesses that are kind of not doing websites, and how long that lasts, you know, it's for an individual business will depend on how they get customers, I would guess. Thank you for letting me talk. I love talking about stuff like that.
Yeah,
I love these kinds of questions. Keep that
good
information.
Great information, Gary. I love it. And I guess before you continue on, there's one more question kind of related to what you kind of already covered.
Sure.
And I'll let Ricky pop it up as well. But where do I know you spoke about your expertise around the links? Where do those links live, and how potentially do they make a difference in your SEO rankings?
Wonderful question. Thank you. That felt like somebody. If that question had happened on a sales call, I'd be like, yes, we got him. So links happen from other people's websites. So if, you know, we go to a lot of different types of websites to find links for our clients. But one of the main things you want to start with, where's my audience? Where are my potential customers? So I am, let's say, well, we don't really, I'm trying to think about, like, from Citation Labs perspective, I don't really want organic search traffic. I don't want those customers necessarily. If someone's just searching in Google for links, they're probably not going to have enterprise level budget, and it just rarely coincides. This is where I'm at, is much more of a, hey, who's your link guy? Oh, it's, you know, Citation Labs, the Citation Labs guys. So anyhow, so I'll give an example though from some of our clients that serve small businesses as their clients. Okay, so we have to think about our clients' clients as a marketing agency. Where do they live? And so one of the places we found to go for links that has a nice kind of overlap with their target audience is chambers of commerce. So we'll go, you know, either join a chamber on their behalf, but then we have to take it up to another level, and that's to say, okay, now we've got to think about what kind of content, what kind of article can we give to the chamber that's going to position my client as an expert, right? And that also is going to create an opportunity for us to link to one of their sales pages. We call them sales pages, or, you know, the pages on which you can buy their offering, right? The page they want to have ranking #1 in Google for, you know, small business services or whatever they sell. So the chamber is a phenomenal spot. It ticks a lot of the boxes you want to be checking off for links. It's the right audience. They're usually authoritative overall, considered authoritative from a metrics perspective, and then you can often, but not always, submit content to them, and they'll publish it, and you'll be able to have a link from your own article back to your own website. There's a lot of different ways of building links. This was initially a separate business of mine, but that we merged with Citation Labs. It's called ZipSprout. With ZipSprout, we designed this one specifically to find local link opportunities, but we'll find local events and nonprofits that we can sponsor on behalf of our clients, but that have what are called donor thank you pages or sponsor thank you pages. So on the sponsor thank you pages, you can often get, you know, an image of your logo that also has a link on it, and that can go to your, you know, whatever local sales page you have for that you know, typically for that region or that city that where the event or the nonprofit exists. So this is one this service we call ZipSprout, and that's the another kind of method that we've developed. But primarily, we're looking at finding folks who will accept an article from us or a piece of content that we've written for their audience that then also has a link within the article back to the client page, the target page that we want to have ranking higher.
And I can attest to that with some of our articles that we've written with Brainstem, getting reposted to other websites and blogs. I can definitely see those links working and pushing some of our SEO efforts on our website. So it definitely works.
It's funny. It's a great question, and Ricky, it's the big change in our business in the last 2 years has been better kind of demonstrations of what we call link impact. So what we do is we'll say, hey, here's a control group of pages on your website that are similar to the pages we're building links to. Here's how they've performed. Here's the page that we've built links to. Here's how it's performing. And that the distance between those two is what we call link impact. These are the actual results of what the links have generated. But it's odd in the SEO space. There's not a lot of discussion or metrics that are specific to link impact on a target page. There's a lot of in the SEO space. If you go looking for link building now, a lot of the discussion is focused on what's called digital PR, or what's commonly referred to as digital PR, which is just what it sounds like. You're trying to get websites to write about you, essentially, or something you've done. And so what digital PR teams will do is come up with a large, kind of data-driven, usually, concept that would be appealing to these types of target publishers. The problem is, now this is good to do and everybody should do it. The problem is you can't necessarily, using digital PR, link to your sales pages. It rarely makes sense. There's rarely an opportunity. You've got to be talking about, for Ricky, it would be like how, and Rick, you'd have an easier job getting links directly to your sales pages, frankly, but you'd be talking about how, it'd be a large data story about how schooling has changed over the last 2 years. And I'm kicking myself for not, being an investor sooner in what you do, because gosh, were you in the right place at the right time, sir? But anyhow, like the story you'd be pitching to journalists would be, hey, here's some data that we've learned. Here's some knowledge we have now that's unique that no one else has about how online learning has impacted educational outcomes, or whether or not it has, or so and that would be. And I'm, again, this is me out of school. We don't do digital PR. I know some great agencies that do that kind of work, but that's not what we've specialized in. But anyhow, that's more of what is kind of commonly talked about online now in link building, around what do you do? What is link building? What do you do for link building? And it's not wrong to pursue this approach. And certainly if you're just getting started, you should absolutely be trying to get any kind of decent website to write about you, if it makes sense for them to write about you. But as you progress and you're kind of getting a better sense of what impact organic search can have, and you have a better sense of who your customers are, et cetera, then, if I just keep seeing somebody with questions that's from a farm. Someone pretend like they sell farm equipment, or, let's say backyard chicken related stuff. Well, you're going to want to get your stuff reviewed. If you're the manufacturer, you're going to want to find people who have reviewed products and and knock on doors, do some cold outreach with email or on social media to publishers and say, hey, and they're probably going to charge you for it. A lot of sponsors, review stuff is essentially sponsored, but you can get links out of it. Sometimes they'll do something called no follow your links, which is a clue to Google to not send that the link was paid for. Oh gosh, I didn't even mention this whole part of it. Google doesn't like link building. They don't want you to be doing it, especially not the way we do it, because they don't want their algorithm manipulated. So there's a lot of cat and mouse around link building. And so one of the spaces I should have said this at the beginning, but again, this is my first time, so I'll just take that note for myself. But one of the, within link building, there's a variety of kind of methodologies that have been adopted and abandoned over the years. But, a big one that still persists is just link buying. It would be approaching a website where you've kind of evaluated their metrics using a tool like SEMrush, or there's another one called Ahrefs. Both are reputable and solid organic search information tools, and evaluate. You identify a page on a website that has, that is authoritative on that particular website, and they're discussing your topic, and you send them an email. Hey, here's $500 to link to this page on my website. It's an expensive game, and I don't tell people, like, especially that are just starting out, that SEO is really even where they should be looking. It's where it might make more sense to take $500 and put it into paid search, and make a few bets on keywords that you think are going to be productive or would result in business, and see what happens before you really start investing in your organic search to see if it's really going to make sense as a channel for you.
I think that's a good note, Garrett. It's like when you're building this data set of, like you said, about your SEO, it's kind of a long game that you're playing. Yeah. You keep your blogs going, putting those things out there, building those links, over time, because that's kind of what it takes to get, really into that algorithm, and for Google to, recognize your, what you're building around. So I think that's good to play that long game with SEO.
It is absolutely a long game, Ricky. And it is, again, that would have been a good thing to say earlier on, but if you need to get traffic faster, you need to look at paid search. And I'll tell people this real quick. If, hey, I've got $1,000, $2,000 a month, should I be looking at organic search? Nah, you should still be spending time in paid search, figuring out how to convert that traffic. Because if you can't convert paid search traffic, then you shouldn't even be messing with organic. It's can your web pages convert? Can you get somebody to land on a web page and buy something from you, or take some action like download a white paper or what have you? And if that's not happening, that's your drawing board. You got to give. You shouldn't even be looking at putting money into organic search yet. It really, paid search. It's expensive, but it's a good training ground.
That's a great point, Garrett. So I kind of walk us through. Okay, like our company's going to start it. Right, we kind of understand the long game of building up the organic search by doing some of the social pieces and the digital pieces. But if tomorrow I wanted to start a paid search campaign, like what are the steps in order for me to start doing paid search prior to getting ready for that? How do I research my keywords, etc.?
I will very quickly say I don't know, and but where I would start, I would go to Google or YouTube, because I like YouTube to teach me things. Also, I'm a visual learner. How do I set up a paid search campaign in Google? How do I start a paid search campaign in Google? And that's going to unfold for you from there. I think, it's real easy, and Google's going to be real big on selling you that traffic. Okay. Any advertiser, right? Any interruption advertiser, even, search is someone's searching for something, and, you've got a solution to that problem. It's not really quite an interruption. It's still an ad, but anybody that's selling ads is going to make it real easy for you to buy ads, period. It's going to be super dumb simple, but getting value out of that is the other side of it. It's like, if I needed to, teach a man to fish, but I'll selling them the fish hook and the reel and everything. Oh yeah, fishing is easy. You just go throw that in the river. You're going to catch some fish. There's a lot more to it, and a lot of the paid search side is just a continuous focus on conversion rate, continuous focus on what happens on the page that this paid traffic lands on. What do they do? What do they do next? Where do they stop? And then you're continually evaluating, people call them your keyword portfolio. You're continually evaluating individual keywords for how are they converting, how well are they converting, and that's going to be really how you're learning to refine both your keyword selection, your understanding of keywords that actually are used by people who could become customers, right? And almost the most important, are your pages converting? And I mentioned, user interface and I don't even, UX, I kind of don't really know what that is. But, user interface is how well is this page, how well does this page turn someone from a visitor into a buyer, and not just a hard sell, but are we giving them all the information they need to take the next obvious step? And, that's something that you're going to need to invest some time in. And even like at the enterprise level, this is continual fidgets and tweaks. And what about this? And what if we change, the grayscale to a slighter grayer? And people are just testing everything because traffic is expensive. So are we getting the right folks, and are we selling effectively on our page? And again, before you even pick up you start exploring SEO, does your website convert?
I think it makes a lot of sense how you set this whole conversation up, right? You set us up with understanding the digital outreaches, but also the foundation is really the site structure of your website, site speed, that UI, that experience, the page you're directing them to is quite important for your foundation, because that sets you up in order to start doing some of that paid search. And that's SEO, but you have to have the foundation in place in order to convert that search and really see what is landing, what is actually hitting for you.
Because you won't even know if your pages don't convert. You won't know that you hit a good, that you have good key, your keywords are solid. You could have the right keywords. You could have people who could become customers on your website, but they're not taking action because you don't have clear calls to action. Or there's something this is a heartbreaker. We had a client that started off their month with back-to-back goose eggs normally they had a couple hundred sales a day on their website. They had goose egg after goose egg. Well, there had been a change to the website pushed live that disabled the landing page's response box, for lack of a better term. No one could take action on the page. Did anybody know? For 3 days, they lost 600 conversions over those few days. And then that my contact there discovered what was going on. But this is where if your website, and this is why I'm such a proponent of websites, is because again you're in control of conversions in a way that on a social platform I don't think you are. I mean, I don't know. I think I'm, like I said, I'm an old man, but I had to get off Facebook and Twitter and all them. I just get distracted too easily. That's all. But anyhow, I'm not never had an Instagram account. Don't I steer clear of TikTok, and I had to limit myself from LinkedIn throughout the day. Like I only get 20 minutes on LinkedIn at the most. Anyways, so I'm just saying, put some salt on my words. But yes, absolutely. We have to have a place. We have to have the cash register has to be working, or else why do we have our store open? If you can't sell something from your website, and whether it's an object or services, whether it's a conversion, because there's different ways to call, to label a conversion. It could be a download of a PDF, it could be signing up for a webinar, it could be signing up for my newsletter, some kind of valued action that has to occur on your website. And if there's nothing that can happen on your website, why are you sending people there? You know, if you don't even have your phone number, it's like you're sending people to your store and it's closed. You know, you're paying people to stop at your store, but you're closed. Just what are you doing? Okay. I'm going to, barring more questions, and y'all are going to go blow me way past one. Let me keep, because I still got more to talk about. I hope everybody either can stay late, or I hope y'all can stay late, because I got a few more things. Now, I kind of talked about them already, but I want to get my questions, though, while folks are still on their lunch break. Do we have any more questions outstanding?
I guess the one question I don't know if we talked much about is really, can you talk about like the website accessibility and like the crossover of SEO a little bit? Like, is there any overlap on those two pieces?
Yeah, sure. An accessible website is almost always an optimized website, assuming the website creator has a really strong sense of what they're offering and has communicated their offering, you know, in using effective language. Well, all the work, all the markup that goes into making a website accessible to the hearing impaired, to the sight impaired. To the hearing impaired, you wouldn't need that. Anyway, to the visually impaired is work that, I mean, that's essentially what Google is, right? It's an algorithm. It's visually impaired. It can't see. So if you have something in an image, and that you have text in an image that shows on your website, Google can't see that image. They can't see the text that says this web page sells shovels. They don't know that. So absolutely, when you make your web pages accessible, you're doing not only your site visitors a service, but you're doing yourself a service, because you've done a lot of the work that Google likes to see, so that they know what your web pages are about. So, wonderful question. Thank you. Okay. Now, I'm diving back into SEO. I'm gonna try to do it fast. How long do we really have, guys? Do I need to sprint? Can I do a light jog, or should I just get it done?
I think the next 15 minutes actually, Garrett.
I have 15 minutes.
You need more than that?
I'm gonna tell y'all some stories now. No, I got plenty of time now. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. That should be enough. Give me, if you think of it, give me like a 5-minute, because I just get going, man. This is okay. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about this. This is a delight for me. My wife will be very appreciative that I don't have to go up and talk about SEO today. She's real good. I'm like, oh no, I'm fine, baby. No, so okay, SEO. We talked about on-site ranking factors, what you say about your website, what you say about your web pages, what you say about your offerings, what you establish as your expertise on your blogs. Then we have off-site ranking factors. This is what other websites say you are, well, and also you on other websites saying what you are. So, in that example about joining a chamber, it's really you talking about yourself on another publisher. We talked about digital PR as a method for getting links as well, so that this is getting, getting the press to talk about you. So, guys, just generally speaking, if a reporter is writing about you, interviewing you, figure out how do I get a link from the article, not just to the homepage, but ideally to your product or service. And that you can definitely ask for it, but you're also going to want to be kind of leaning into, is there content that the journalist might be actually interested in linking to on one of your sales pages? What could that look like? And I would be delighted to kind of brainstorm that with folks. But anyhow, so we talked about on-site ranking factors, off-site ranking factors, and these all kind of play into the search algorithm, right? Like the search engine results pages. This is where the magic happens or doesn't, and this is what Google's serving up to the searchers every time they type in a query, right? Whether that's on mobile, which we didn't get into, mobile versus desktop. I hate mobile. as you could probably guess. But I'm a desktop guy, and PC only. Don't talk to me about Macintosh, please. But the search engine results pages themselves, in SEO parlance, are called SERPs. These are essentially, rented property. What do I mean? Since you're not paying Google to be there, you don't own that position. You could do all this work, you could build all these links, you could do all this great on-site work, but you don't actually own that. This is just a caveat. This is a warning for folks. Now, there's a lot to be said for Google can't really take some web pages out or some websites out of their index, but they have de-indexed websites. So back in the day, there were some big names that got de-indexed usually for link penalties, link building penalties. And Google was a lot more draconian, 15, 20 years ago, and they'd take, I think, I want to say BMW got de-indexed for a period of time for, doing some kind of thing that Google didn't like. They've stopped doing that. It makes them look bad when they levy these huge penalties. But the point is, you don't control their algorithm. You just are serving their algorithm. The more link building you're doing to your landing pages, the more careful you have to be, conscientious and cautious about not overdoing it, not over manipulating what we call anchor text. This is the, if algorithmic proxy linked to a page on my website that said algorithmic proxy, you could click on it, then that page on my website is more likely to rank for algorithmic proxy. So, but Google can detect when there's over optimization going on. It's a mess. It's a difficult space to kind of get right. But anyways, the point is, the search engine results pages are rented property. You don't own them. So building a lot of, putting a lot of investment here is risky, kind of period. It's a smart long-term investment in play, but just remember that you don't own it. And this is key for me about SEO. The other piece, and this is where I see SEOs most frequently go wrong, especially early on, but not always just early on, is they will pursue traffic over conversions. We talked about this a lot earlier. There's a difference between someone who visits your site and someone who visits your site and buys something. So how I kind of think about this is we're going to have information demand, actual information demand. Fred needs to know something, and then that people who could actually become customers. So let's say, this guy Fred was searching for something relating to, online learning. Well, he might have just been curious about what it was versus actually being a quality customer for Ricky. So if he was looking for, an online learning platform for deployment in wherever, well, that's a much stronger indicator at the keyword level, right? At what they're at the query level, what they've searched in Google, for someone who could become a customer. So what we see a lot happen though is SEOs are going to focus where there's a lot more demand, keyword demand, and then they go all in on ranking for these keywords that are not necessarily converting keywords, all right? That may or may not actually result in people who could become customers. Now, how do you discern this? How do you differentiate? I don't always know the answer to that.
I got a question, Garrett, and I don't want to derail you too much, but that's almost a sense that maybe online learning may give you higher traffic, but maybe the metaverse keyword might deliver a higher conversion rate but lowers traffic.
Yes, exactly. So do you want, 100,000 people where, 100 people convert, or 1,000 people where, even 100 people convert? You still would go for the 1,000 where 100 convert, and that's where you might as well go for both of them, but it's going to cost you a lot more to rank for online learning, a lot more time, a lot more effort. So there's less effort involved in focusing on a lower keyword demand keyword. Now, everybody thinks like this, so it isn't always that simple. And another important place that I want to leave everybody with is way over here, way down at the bottom, the most important part. Number one, there's not always keyword demand, right, for your offering. Like, let's think about, Henry Ford selling his cars. Well, if there was Google back then, nobody was searching for cars. Like, they were searching for how to ride my horse faster, or how to better food for my horse so that he'll, live longer or whatever. Well, there's not always going to be information or keyword demand. Now, what there will always be, probably, is keyword demand relating to the problems your offering solves. And this is, I've talked a lot about this in the past, and it's a weirdly difficult thing to explain for some reason. It's like when you really try to nail it down, it's very difficult. But problems relating to what your offering solves. So, if I'm, my horse is sick and I'm late for work, the keyword I might be searching for, back to my, Henry Ford story or concept. Well, we're how do I, explain to my boss why I'm late? Maybe that's what I'm searching for in Google. And maybe that's what we need to be trying to rank for with our car sales ad. Never be late for work again. You've got your own car, you've got this, you would call it a car. Nobody knew what it was. Anyways, the concept is not everybody knows that there's not going to necessarily be information or keyword demand for your product. So you have to kind of take this step back, and this is where your blog posts can really do some heavy lifting for you, and really focus on the problem areas that your offering solves. Not necessarily saying, hey, you need to buy, let's say you sell hammers. Well, all these problems relating to building things. How do I build a chicken coop? How do I build a pergola or whatever? How do I build a deck? You need a hammer. That's what you need. If that's all you're telling people, you're not helping anybody. If you really have some efficient guidance for problem solving that can include your hammers, and hey, our hammers are the best, I'm not going to lie, but also here's some of the other things you need, and some other here's how to get a great, how to make sure you're buying great nails. Here's how to make sure you're getting great lumber. How to kind of become better at what the problem is you're trying to solve while, mentioning your own products and services. That's my, I guess, number one, if you will, kind of takeaway is from a keyword perspective, from an information demand perspective, is you're not just researching, hammers, if you sell hammers, and seeing what keyword demand looks like. You're thinking about the problems that your hammer solves, or your offering solves, and what are people likely to be searching for without knowing the hammers exist.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And it's like a sci-fi leap or something. You gotta. Yeah. It's like an Inception thing. Like, yep. They don't know it's there. How do they know? So you're guessing or trying to kind of solve for how are they thinking to solve this problem without understanding that this solution is even out there.
Am I hearing
that's the work.
Is that no matter if you have direct keywords or not? Really, is the art of really explaining the problem you're solving, no matter if you have direct keywords or not? Really, that's
Chris. You nailed it, man. It really isn't. This is a quintessential marketing problem. It's not just SEO. And most people suck at this. It's really difficult to explain your problem space, and it's hard to talk about it, and because if you're a founder or something, you're so laser focused on what hammers can do, right? You've got this hammer, and you know how well your hammer can pound that nail. That's what you're going at, but maybe people they're not even thinking about the nail. They're thinking about the chicken coop, or they're thinking about the deck and how much their family's going to enjoy hanging out on the deck. So it really, that's the kind of the problem space. So there really needs to be that differentiation, and it is your SEO going to come up with that? Probably not. No, I mean,
yep.
The good ones do, good ones think this way, but this is where the founder has to step back and say, okay, I really need to spend more time understanding the problem space, right? If there is such, can be said to be such a thing around my offering, what kind of surrounds this, and that's what I'm speaking into. So this is kind of summed up here, solid content strategy. And it's, again, I do think of it from the search or the organic search channel, but listen, this is also what you need to be tweeting about. This is the kind of stuff, talking into this problem space, whatever that might be for your offering. That's what your webinars are about. That's what all your blog posts are about. And so a solid content strategy generates efficiencies for people solving problems related to your offerings. Generates efficiencies. And this is key. It's not just you have a funny meme about, darn, I hit my thumb with a hammer, and isn't that silly? And then it gets 100,000 likes on whatever TikTok thing. Good, that's great, but you're probably not going to sell anything, and you're not generating efficiencies. You're not contributing informationally, which if I'm helpful, it's because I've generated efficiencies, I believe. You haven't generated any efficiencies for the people trying to solve problems related to your offerings. And so it's this leap right here that I really feel like is professionally where I'm at trying to express. And it's hard to express. I've tried it a few different times, and I'm working at tools to kind of help unpack it, right? Especially at the individual offering level. This is where things get really interesting to me. Is, okay, Garrett, we don't just sell hammers. We sell a hardware. We have a hardware store of items.
Yep.
How do we solve these things at scale? How do we express the utility of our offering and the problem space to which it answers? How do we express that? I don't know, but I'm trying to make the tools to kind of help solve those types of problems. That's where things get real interesting to me. That's where you're going to see from me in the next 3 to 5 years is more along these lines. But I think that's everything for me today, Chris. I could probably talk another couple hours easy, but you better get off.
Yeah, I think from this, we'll get a lot of questions and inbound questions and continued questions. I think it's a great discussion. Like you said, it's an iterative process that continues to go on and on.
Yeah.
And I definitely appreciate you just giving an overview today. I was going to say, as we close out, how can people stay in contact with you? I see you writing your email up now.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a great opportunity. And so that's Garrett at citationslabs.com. So feel free to send Garrett an email or send us an email, drop us a note. I mean, we can hop back in with Garrett and just maybe do some pre-recorded answers.
I love it.
As well.
I love it.
Content out because I think this is valuable the way of thinking of the framework around SEO, how you should engage with it, and how to start diving in and learning. I think it's some super marketing tips around this, Garrett. I think you definitely love the foundation piece of the website, going into the paid ads and the paid keywords and still at the same time using your digital channels and your outlet channels in order to build that organic traffic as well. So great ideas for companies to be thinking about from the beginning. And we definitely appreciate you for taking the time out and going a little bit over today to actually give these tips today. It
was absolutely my pleasure. I enjoyed having the opportunity. Hope to come back. Would hope you guys will have me back. And
absolutely.
Folks listening, I appreciate y'all being out there, and thank you for all your questions. That was really exciting to see. I love it. Keep them coming. I promise you, I'll tell you when I don't know the answer. So guys, thanks so much. I hope to see you again.
Hey, thank you all. Stay tuned in. I'd love to see you all come out in person next week, April 19th at 5:30 p.m. if you can. And we'll keep it out, put on great content, and catch you all later on. So thank you. Peace.
Thanks guys. Appreciate it.